Illustrator has a total of 7 type tools for creating type in a variety of different ways, including one that is brand new to this version of Illustrator that I'm pretty excited about. Let's explore these tools. I'm beginning this video with the typetools.ai file already open on my computer. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I'm working on Artboard 2. So you can just double click to the right here to make sure that that's the active artboard, and that's where we're going to begin. So to get started, I'm just going to grab the Type tool, and I can use this tool in two main ways. First way, I can simply click with this tool, and that's going to create what's called point type. And if I just type a word in here, maybe I'll make this a little bit bigger so that I can see it a little bit better. If I switch to my selection tool, we can see that this is area type by this open or white adornment that you see over here on the right. And what makes point type what it is that if I try to drag this handle, the type is going to stretch in both directions. So that's the behavior of point type. Now, area type, by contrast, I create by, instead of just clicking, I click and drag to define a frame. And if I type the same thing, now you'll notice when I switch to my selection tool, this adornment is solid. And the other way you can tell is that you now have an import and an output on this frame for flowing text from one frame to the next. But with area type, if I drag this, the type is going to reflow. Okay, I'm going to delete that, and we're going to move on to this polygon that I have here. Now, the second tool we're going to work with is the area type tool. And the job of this tool is to convert an existing shape to area type. So I'm going to click right on the edge of this path. And when I do, it's going to convert this to an area type object. I'm going to cheat a little bit here. I'm going to go ahead and paste some text in here. And we can see that this is now conforming to the shape that I converted. Perfect. Now, the other thing that we get when we're working with area type, just zoom out a little bit here. I'm going to select this with the selection tool. We can go to the type menu and choose area type options. And this allows me to do a lot of cool things. So if I turn the preview on, I can split this into a number of rows if I wanted to. I can split it into a number of columns as well. Very interesting for this particular shape, I should say. So I'll change those back to 1. And what I really wanted to show you here is the inset spacing option. Because oftentimes when you flow type into a shape, it's right up against the edge. So if I increase this inset spacing, it allows me to bump the text away from the edge, giving it a better visual appearance. I can also control how the text flows, either by rows or by columns, when I'm flowing text into multiple frames. So I'll go ahead and click OK. Now I'm going to move down here. The next tool is the Type on a Path tool. And using this tool, I can convert any path, whether it be open or closed, into a Type on a Path object. So if I click on this path, you can see that I can now type some text. And if I switch back to my selection tool, we can see that with Type on a Path, we always have a starting bar, an ending bar, and a center bar. And in addition, we have an import and an output in the event that we want to flow text in or out of this Type on a Path. Now, using the starting bar, I can click and drag to kind of change where this type starts. I can click on the ending bar to change where it ends, so that would make it overset. And I can use this center bar to drag this to different portions of the path. I can even flip it on the path as well, as you can see. Now, the next tool is the vertical type tool. And this one, we can simply move over here to the right. And I'm just going to click once here. And now if I start typing, you can see that it's just typing the text in a vertical orientation. Just kind of slide this up a little bit. There we go. And you can adjust it just like you do normal type. I can select it, I can change the size, and so on and so forth. Now the next tool is the vertical Type on a Path tool. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. And if I click on a vertical path like you see here, I can convert this to a vertical type on a path. So once again, type is great. You can see that it's vertically following the path, and it's editable, adjustable in any way that you wish. Now, if I click and hold again, I'm going to finally get the one that I really wanted to show you, which is new in the current version of Illustrator, which is the Touch Type tool. Now, what does this do? Well, you'll notice when I chose that, let me see if I can show that to you again. When I choose that tool, it says click on a character to select. Well, let's go to our Artboards panel, and let's double click on Artboard 3. And this is using Trajan 3, the font. If you don't have that, you can probably replace it with just Trajan or whatever font you wish. But this is an amazing new tool that we have to work with. Now, how does this work? Well, as you saw, it just says click on a character to use it. So I'm going to click on this capital T. And you'll see that it gets a bounding box around it. Well, what does that allow me to do? Well, if I drag one of the corners here, I can scale this character, just this one character. I can also click on it and reposition it. I can adjust it any way that I want to. And I'm going to pull this over. I don't want that to go too far. There we go. Then I can click on the next character. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this up, and you can see how this gets adjusted. Even the kerning is being adjusted. So I'm going to drag that right there. Maybe I'll drag the O up here. And maybe I want to make that a little bit smaller. So you'll notice down here we have the reference point. And you can go ahead and utilize that. That reference point is the transformation point. So if I go to my transform panel, this doesn't really apply to the touch type object. So we can't utilize that in this case, but what we can do is we can scale this, and you don't even have to hold down Shift to make it scale proportionately. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of scale these down, because I want them to kind of scale down a little at a time, and you could tweak these as much as you wish. It is really, I have so much fun when I'm adjusting type in this way. You can do so much with this. And if I wanted to, I could make it start going bigger or smaller. Let me do one more here. I'll just change that a little bit. That looks pretty good. What I can also do, I can even go back to the regular type tool, and I can click in here and I can adjust the kerning if I want to. So using the Option or Alt key on my keyboard and the left and right arrow keys, I can still kern this type precisely. This is amazing. It's amazing that I'm able to do this after distorting it in such a way. Now I'm going to go back to that Touch Type tool, because I'm now going to click on the R, and watch this. This adornment up here allows me to rotate this character as well. And it allows me to adjust it literally whatever way that I want to. This is amazing. And I can still reposition it. I can adjust this. Maybe I want to make this T a little bit bigger. And you can just continue adjusting this in all these different ways. And to see like a finished result of this, if you go to Artboard 1, you can see how this type has been adjusted in a very similar way. You can just tweak all of these characters, and even after they've been created and adjusted, I am still able to highlight all of this type. Now, if I want to, I could retype the text, but it's not going to keep the formatting that I adjusted. But I certainly can change that type later on. I'm going to go ahead and undo that, switch back to my selection tool. So as you can see, there's no shortage of options when it comes to creating type in Illustrator. Regardless of your typographic need, Illustrator has a tool to fit the bill.